variety, but locally, no puffy clouds. It's just these high cirrus clouds that have thinned out quite a bit. They'll thicken up a little bit overnight tonight and more so for the day tomorrow as this corridor of clouds and some moisture does get closer, but a little too dry in the lower levels of the atmosphere to allow for any appreciable rains on Tuesday. We still do have a chance for a few showers later tomorrow night, but not until then, and that will not be a big rain producer for us. It's the one later Thursday into Friday that I'm tracking. It's going to be mild tonight, partly cloudy, temps in the 60s, eventually dropping into the 50s. Got your full forecast, guys, coming up here in just a few.
All right, Anthony, thank you for that. COVID vaccine eligibility expanding again today to include those 50 and older, as well as anyone 16 and older with disabilities or medical conditions.
It's a quick development as all Michiganders will soon become eligible in just 2 weeks. Health experts say, though, our supply is still lagging far behind that expanded criteria.
We definitely don't have enough vaccine to meet the demand or to vaccinate all those who are currently eligible.
That's our current reality, according to Dr. Nirali Bora, the medical director of the Kent County Health Department. And it's the same in Ottawa County as more Michiganders become eligible for the COVID vaccine.
It's good news, but for us, it's been tempered a little bit because we don't have enough vaccine to broaden into the age groups that are eligible today.
Both counties say they're still working through previous eligibility groups, but are thrilled about their vaccination rates for those most at risk.
I'm really excited about our 65 and older population, as it's close to 70% of that population has already been vaccinated.
We have 70% who've gotten at least one dose, and 43% who are completely vaccinated.
So all health systems are asking for patience, especially as all Michiganders become eligible on April 5th. But don't expect to snag an appointment on that exact date.
I don't think that's quite realistic at this point. Vaccine scarcity is still an issue. And so while everyone would be eligible, there still is not going to be enough vaccine to get to all those people who truly want it and who truly need it.
The good news, supply is supposed to be ramping up.
We are looking at a massive expansion of how many vaccines are going to be available within a month from now. And we're looking at vaccinating, thousands and thousands of people every day in Kent County alone.
With that in mind, Dr. Andrew Jameson, the Division Chief of Infectious Disease at Mercy Health, says we can start to see some more normalcy this summer.
Even if nothing else changed, summer is going to be better this year. And then when you add in the vaccinations, it's really going to be solid. So I'm very optimistic that we're getting to, June and July. It's going to feel different than we are right now.
But he says that all hinges on what we do for the next month.
Keep up the diligence with masking. Don't get together with other people inside houses. Keep socially distanced the best you can. Don't let your guard down.
In the meantime, experts recommend signing up wherever you can and taking the first available appointment.
Stay encouraged and keep that enthusiasm because we really want people to get vaccinated.
All right, so if you need to register for your vaccine, you can visit vaccinatewestmi.com, and that is where you can register for the clinic at DeVos Place, but that's where you'll also find under the resources tab links to register at area health departments and any participating pharmacies. So it's a really great resource. If the internet isn't necessarily your thing or you just can't navigate it, you can also call 211 for help. And I actually just spoke with Dr. Jameson within the past half hour, and he says according to MDHHS, we may actually start seeing a bit of a lag in vaccine supply over the next 3 weeks. In that story there, we were talking about an increase that will come. It might just take a little while. But let's talk about these vaccination numbers using our great software. We're going to check the numbers today. As of Friday, if you look in these green boxes here, 3.4 million doses so far have been administered out of the 4.3 million that have been shipped across the state. If you can see first doses, 2.2 million. Fully vaccinated people, that's the number we want, 1.2 million so far. If we want to do a deeper dive into Kent County, kind of looking at those numbers here, you can see that 153,000 people so far have received their first dose. Fully vaccinated people, 92,000. We can also go a little bit deeper into Ottawa County, 66,249 for their first dose, 38,000, almost 39,000 fully vaccinated. So these numbers, of course, change daily, and it's really neat to track how they're growing. It's really fun. We love this software. If you would like to click around this exact same map, you can look at vaccinations, you can look at cases, you can also look at deaths. We do have the same interactive map for you on our website. Just go ahead and visit fox17online.com. Derek?
And meanwhile, speaking of that, thank you. 2 new cases of the more contagious B.1.1.7 variant have been confirmed in Ottawa County. Health Department saying one person under the age of 20, the other is in their 20s, and neither has traveled. Now, as of yesterday, the CDC reports more than 600 cases of the variant in the state of Michigan. In the meantime, our state reporting and confirming another 4,800 and change new cases of COVID today. That number isn't a daily report, of course. It's the last couple of days over the weekend. Meantime, 6 new deaths also being reported as of Friday. Almost 563,000 Michiganders had recovered from the virus. That's the good news. And the mass vaccination site at Ford Field is set to open up in just 48 hours on Wednesday, one of the country's first federal community vaccine clinics. Michigan Democrats joined Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist for a tour this morning. Gilchrist saying Detroit calls the effort a beacon of hope for not only the city of Detroit, but for the country.
This region was hit hard. The city of Detroit, where this vaccine site is located, was hit hard as well. And that's why we're coming together to make sure that we can make this vaccine accessible to people for whom it needs to be accessible.
Meyer, meanwhile, opened registration for the clinic a week ago. In that time, Meyer opened registration for a clinic a week ago. In that time, 110,000 people have registered. The first 14,000 appointments have been scheduled. Another 20,000 appointment invitations will have been sent out by the end of today. The clinic will be open for 8 weeks from 8 a.m. until 8:30 p.m. daily. As the vaccine eligibility expands, as we touched on moments ago, family doctors say they want to help keep up with the demand. The Michigan Academy of Family Physicians is calling on the state to allow them to start administering shots before April 5th, when the general public can start getting the vaccine. The organization says primary care doctors already administer about half of all non-COVID vaccines to adults. Many people looking to their family doctors for guidance when it comes to getting the shot. They also say it'll help the state reach its goal of vaccinating 70% of the population sooner. Of course, a big day for high school athletes all across the state of Michigan today. Look at that sunshine, outdoor sports. You got to love it. The spring sports season officially opening back up today, 1 week later than normal. Of course, this is no complaining, though. Last year's entire spring season was wiped out due to the pandemic. During a press conference on Friday, the governor blamed recent COVID-19 outbreaks on high school athletics, saying out of the 645 new outbreaks reported, nearly half were traced to different sports teams. So her administration is requiring players between the ages of 13 and 19 to take a COVID-19 test every week. That order will go into effect on Friday, April the 2nd. Parents in Ionia, meanwhile, concerned with the potential closure of one of the district's 3 elementary schools.
The school board is expected to make its decision tonight. Our Julie Dunmeyer joins us after hearing from a parent who says it's not the best option for kids. Julie?
Guys, according to the parent I spoke to, Emerson Elementary houses multiple special education programs throughout the county. And that's one of the biggest things on everyone's mind is where those programs and the 400 or so students who go to Emerson will attend school.
The community at large is pretty concerned. Our superintendent is proposing that we close the elementary school and move those students that attend there to the existing elementary schools.
Emerson Elementary in Ionia could close if the school board votes in favor of it Monday night.
We have had board members resign over this decision just in the past week, multiple, in fact.
The district says it's because there aren't enough students to fill all the elementary schools, and they can't afford to keep them all open. But Ionia mom Katie Bennett says it's not that simple.
While they are not at full capacity with Ionia public school students, they are at full capacity with programs through the ISD that we host here with ECSE programs and Head Start programs. So our buildings are full.
Bennett wonders where those programs will go and which school her students who go to a different elementary school will end up attending.
This change is going to displace a number of about 470 students that we are aware of. But is going to essentially affect every single student in the district.
Also up for change, parents no longer able to choose a preferred school. Instead, they'd only be able to attend their home school.
So there's just a lot of unanswered questions.
Bennett says she and other parents want answers and for the board to consider all other potential options to cut costs in the district.
It's a lot more than just a school. In Ionia, your school is your home, and that's what our kids are taught from the very beginning. That is your second home. That is your family.
And hope at the board meeting their concerns are heard.
Ionia is a great community. It really is. We have always banded together for each other and pulled through in hard times, and this is no different. And parents should be really passionate in advocating for their kids, and that's just what we're doing. We don't want an adversarial relationship with our school in any way. It needs to be a symbiotic relationship, and that's really what we're asking for.
The board meeting does start tonight at around 7 o'clock and is through Zoom. I did reach out to the Ionia superintendent today and haven't heard back yet. Live in the newsroom, Julie Dunmeyer, Fox 17 News.
Right. Julie, thank you. Well, this year's Lakeshore Restaurant Week is taking a bit of a different meaning.
After meeting payroll, after buying food, you know, I've been here 6 months. I don't have a paycheck.
Yeah, we'll hear from one restaurant owner who is hoping for a boost after a really rough 2020, as you can imagine.
Derek, our weather map today, it looks the same basically as what is going to be shaking out for tomorrow. So our upper 60s from right now, well, we're going to do that again tomorrow. How much longer, though, can that carry forth before some of these cooler colors head southward? Full forecast after the break. Okay, time to go, everybody. Welcome back. It is 4:20 on the nose and a beautiful Monday afternoon, shaking out very similar to what we had yesterday, and that has meant a lot of sunshine. A couple episodes here through the late morning and early afternoon where there have been a few more of these higher level clouds kind of dimming sun just slightly, but we've actually gotten back into more direct sunlight in the past couple of hours, and that has helped to boost the temperatures into the upper 60s. This is the warmest afternoon of the meteorological / the astronomical spring season thus far, and I think we're going to do that one more time on Tuesday, as upper 60s to near 70-degree temperatures will be achieved once again. A couple showers, we've been talking about that for later Tuesday into early Wednesday. This is going to be a minor disturbance for us, though, as the main energy is going to be traversing further westward in the Midwest. Our low-level dry atmosphere likely to win out to a large degree, but after around 8, 9 o'clock tomorrow into the early hours of Wednesday, there can be a few showers providing for damp pavement around here. The more rain potential, I think, is going to hold off until later Thursday into Friday, as we were talking about on the late shows yesterday. I've got more on that with the model momentarily. 65 degrees still at 7 o'clock, so if you're headed out here, I mean, we're balmy. It's still March, folks. We're only a couple days into astronomical spring, but it is feeling like deeper into spring, certainly, with mostly sunny to partly cloudy skies. I think some of these high clouds, once again, are going to tend to thicken up a bit as we go forth, never really thickening up into anything close to an overcast, but there will be patches of more clouds as we go forth. GR, one of the warmest spots on the chart here. Also Benton Harbor at 68. We've got squarely temperatures in the mid to upper 60s. Kalamazoo, Battle Creek, Coldwater, and Three Rivers. Those 66s are wild out there right now, as south-west winds and south breezes are noticeable. Yes, about 10 to 20 miles per hour, and some gusts that have been included just a little bit higher. That's a common phenomenon, folks. When you bring much milder and well above normal temperatures, keep in mind we're running about 20 degrees above normal. It's going to be transported in here on southerly winds, tugging on the warmer air from down south. But I mean, check this out. You think, well, it's 68 in Grand Rapids. It's got to be in the 70s or 80s just south here. Not necessarily the case. It's just a broad area of a similar type of an atmospheric feel. Once you go deep into the U.S. as well, there is actually a fair amount of cool air that has been gathering over central and northern Canada, and we're going to tap into a little bit of that chill. It's virtually impossible to bring those types of temperatures down into the Midwest at this point in time, but you bring it down, it gets modified. The net result is that I think daytime highs are going to be relegated to the 40s here for Friday, and then again perhaps Sunday and Monday. This a little bit more unclear once you get towards the end of the 7-day, but a system that will be passing by overnight Thursday into Friday likely will tend to keep us on the cooler side of things, and that's the rainy system that I'll be showing you on the European model here coming up. We've got some clouds showing up, these puffy cumulus types down to our south, right through the heart of the viewing area, though none of those. It's just been these high cirrus variety which have thinned out. The thicker cirrus deck is more off to our northwest in this corridor of clouds and moisture. Looks like some of those showers are knocking on the door, but they will not be making it in here tonight. Eventually, though, a system down across the Southland over Oklahoma and Texas. It will lift northward. As I mentioned, though, the main energy out to our west. So we're going to be on the very eastern periphery of this thing. Later tomorrow night after around 8, 9 o'clock, we may get swiped with a shower or two. This model overdoing the expanse of the moisture, I do believe. But it'll be another system coming up from the Gulf of Mexico that looks to get a little bit more wound up and maybe taking a more favorable track to bring a wider spread area of rain later Thursday night into into Friday, so we'll watch that, and then perhaps another weak system over the weekend at some point. Again, that's still several days down the line. So we're looking for rain. We could use it. I think we get it later Thursday into Friday as temperatures do cool off. I mean, that's a pretty big drop down, Annie and Derek, from the upper 60s to near 70. We could have temps in the 40s a few times by later in this 7 day.
Okay, we knew the pipe had to come at some point.
Right.
We'll take what we can get. Thanks, Anthony. Lakeshore Restaurant Week kicked off Friday with more than a dozen participating restaurants.
And it's even more important than years before because of the pandemic. Up next, the hopes from one restaurant owner in Muskegon. Well, the pandemic, of course, has been hard on the restaurant industry throughout our area.
Yeah, several in Muskegon may get a boost during their restaurant week this week. Lauren Edwards spoke with an owner about her excitement and hopes for this event this year.
Chocolate cake, lemon pie, apple pie.
When we say food that is good to and for your soul, I give you so much food that you kind of rear back. You know, you need a nap afterwards.
That's how Lakeisha Harris wants her customers to feel every time they order from her restaurant, Soul-Filled Eatery in Muskegon.
60% of the experience is my food. 40% is the hugs, is the love, is remembering your name, is remembering your birthday.
Even though Harris hasn't been giving out too many hugs lately due to COVID, she's hoping to see some familiar faces and some new ones during this week's restaurant week.
I'm excited because I feel like we have something to offer, and we have something that can put the Lakeshore on the map. Our turkey knuckles, the whole world needs to know about. Like, they need to know in Spain, they need to know in Japan. Our most popular items, the barbecue knuckles, collard green.
But you can only get them in Muskegon, which is the goal of Restaurant Week, organizers say, is to show what Muskegon has to offer that no other place has.
And it's really just a way that we wanted to get restaurants to do things a little bit differently, to showcase some of the things that they do.
Organizer Rich Berry says they did Restaurant Week last year, and it was a huge success. People hopping from one place to another. But then the pandemic hit, and the industry tanked.
It's still hard because still, after meeting payroll, after buying food, you know, I've been here 6 months. I don't have a paycheck, you know.
But she soldiered on like the other restaurants. Now several are participating in Restaurant Week through the 27th, hoping to revive the dining experience once again.
Takeout is great, but it's not quite the same thing.
So they're hoping people will come out, mask up, but lower it just a little to eat all that they have to offer.
Pecan pie, sakatui, chocolate cake.
We have probably been the best kept secret, but I'm here to come out and tell everybody that we have something good going on here, not at Soul-Filled Eatery, but in the city of Muskegon, and we're bringing back that pride, definitely.
In Muskegon, Lauren Edwards, Fox 17 News.
Wish them the best. They could all use it for sure. Restaurant Week this year runs through Saturday. We have a link to all the participating restaurants right now at fox17online.com. Well, for many, much like opening day in baseball, it is one of the most iconic signs of spring in Michigan, Oberon Day.
Yeah, it was a smidge early this year. We saw lots of posts on social media, but Bell's Brewery officially released the beer today. Although a lot of distributors started selling a couple days in advance because of the pandemic, we all need something fun to look forward to. The brewery didn't hold a big event at its eccentric cafe like years past, but they still had a big turnout today. If you don't know already, Oberon is a seasonal wheat ale brewed right in Kalamazoo, often served with an orange wedge. You can buy it in bottles and cans, and Bell says that it'll be available on mini kegs later on in the year. It just screams spring. Even if you're not a fan, you got to order one anyway.
And people standing in line outside in March with the weather like this, it's all spring.
It's
wonderful
perfect
stuff. Yeah.
All right, still ahead, a new healthcare facility in Calhoun County providing 24/7 access to mental health and substance abuse treatment.
Yeah, how it's breaking down barriers for those who could really use the help. Thanks for staying with us this afternoon. I'm Derek Francis.
And I'm Annie Satowski. Mental health has been, of course, a big concern throughout the pandemic, and one West Michigan community is trying to break the barriers.
Fox 17's Lauren Coomer telling us how a new psychiatric urgent care center will help bring more accessible services to those needing it.
This psychiatric urgent care facility just opened its doors, giving Calhoun County residents access to mental health and substance abuse treatments 24/7.
The Psychiatric Urgent Care Center is intended to help address some of the barriers to receiving substance use and psychiatric treatment in Calhoun County.
It's the first of its kind in Calhoun County, opened by Summit Point, a mental health provider in Battle Creek. The new facility, called First Step, hopes to remove obstacles for those needing mental health and substance abuse treatment.
Sometimes you're just not sure whether you should be seen right away, whether it's therapy, whether it's inpatient. So really the need to be able to screen and access the treatment differently. And so that's kind of how this center came to fruition.
Law enforcement say this is a big deal for them as it gives them the option to provide people help right away instead of referring them and not knowing if they will take it.
If we're able to push people to other programs and other services where incarceration is not going to be helpful, that's exactly what we should be doing. And that's what this is, whether it's addiction, recovery, mental health. It's a significant resource for us here in Calhoun County.
Summit Point's first step has 11 rooms where people can receive an intake, get screened, and figure out what's going on so they can look to make referrals for future follow-up. The facility also houses their recovery center.
This is not a silver bullet. No program ever is, but it certainly has changed our posture in how we approach someone that's suffering in trauma, and more importantly, with a mental illness.
Again, this facility is open 24 hours, 7 days a week here on College Street in Battle Creek for anyone needing mental health or substance abuse help. For more information on the facility, head to our website, fox17online.com. Reporting in Battle Creek, Lauren Coomer, Fox 17 News.
All right, Lauren. Meanwhile, AstraZeneca in the final stages of testing in the U.S., and the company announced the results of its trials just this morning.
They say it offers a strong protection against the illness, coming in at about 79%, and that it eliminated hospitalizations and deaths due to the virus. The company didn't report any safety concerns, including no increased risk of blood clots. AstraZeneca is expected to apply for an emergency use authorization from the FDA in early April. And the Family Health Center in Kalamazoo will be hosting another COVID vaccine clinic this Friday.
It's being held at Mayor's Riverfront Park at 251 Mills Street. The date and times are all listed on the screen right there. The center plans to administer more than 500 doses during that drive-through event. They're vaccinating eligible adults who are at least 50 years old, along with those 18 and older who have a pre-existing condition or care for someone with disabilities. You'll have to set an appointment ahead of time, however. Muskegon County Public Health Department hosting their first walk-in vaccination clinic this weekend, being held from 9 to 5 Saturday at the Muskegon Community College Health and Wellness Center. The clinic will be offering the Pfizer vaccine, and a follow-up clinic will be held to ensure everyone gets their second shot 3 weeks later. Residents who are at least 60 years old and their spouse can get the vaccine. Spouses do not have to be at least 60, however. The clinic is free. You're being asked to bring your driver's license or state ID card when you visit. Albion College bringing all of their classes back on campus this fall.
100% of classes will be offered in person with COVID policies in place. They'll also return to their standard academic calendar, which means more opportunities for on-campus gatherings and student activities. Albion says they've administered more than 8,000 COVID-19 tests since January, and they've maintained a very low positivity rate among their staff and students. And all Kentwood police officers will now have a body camera by the end of May.
The City Commission recently approved a 5-year contract with Axon, the largest body camera provider in the country. Police Department will spend $117,000 on that new equipment, and all 71 sworn-in officers will have a body camera by the end of May. The goal is to enhance accountability and transparency. The department has had in-car cameras since 2000, but only some body cameras since 2016. Of course, it is tax season, and cities across Michigan cashing in on recreational marijuana sales.
Grand Rapids expects to bring in $500,000 in taxable revenue from their 6 licensed sellers. But since the first recreational retailer opened in October of last year, the city is post-dating tax returns, so they won't have a solid number until the end of this year. While tax revenue is just an estimate at this point, the city expects that it could easily jump above the 1 million mark, with nearly a dozen more pot shops awaiting approval.
So we do anticipate that the number of cannabis facilities in the city will continue to grow. That's based on, of course, the availability of parcels. So as we see that number increase, that is going to result in job opportunities for our community. And we know that as that number continues to grow in the city, we will receive additional revenues coming in from the state. And so that, too, is going to be a revenue stream for the city to be able to invest back into the community.
And Grand Rapids does not have a cap on the number of recreational sellers allowed in the city, which creates more opportunities for growth. And here's a quick look at a breakdown of the excise tax on recreational sales. 15% goes to the county, another 15% goes to municipalities, and is decided by the city commission. 35% goes to the Michigan Treasurer's Transportation Fund, and then another 35% goes to the school aid. to be used in K through 12 classes. And Grand Rapids Parks and Recreation Department is asking for your help naming this little guy. It's a turf tank. The autonomous robot is designed to paint athletic field lines in less time and using less paint than traditional methods. The Parks Department is taking name submissions now through April 1st. They will then narrow it down from there and select 25 names that will be up for a public vote from April 5th through the 9th. The turf tank will be painting lines for the spring sports in late April. The department expects it'll help them save around $5,000 a year in labor and material costs. That looks pretty cool.
I love it.
Well, construction on I-196 in Allegan County is underway.
Yeah, southbound lanes of the freeway being rebuilt from south of Holland down to south of Douglas, which totals about 12 miles. All traffic instead is using the northbound side of the freeway with one lane in each direction on that side. The first phase of the project goes into July, but the overall project runs until mid-November.
There's a full rebuild of about 8.5